Dear friends, I'm back talking to you at the end of our year and the end of the quarter 4 results. We're of course seized with the challenges that the COVID environment has brought to us. Before I begin, I want to thank every single healthcare worker at the front line, be it a doctor, be it a nurse, be it a chemist, be it employees of pharmaceutical companies such as ours. Thank you for keeping the world intact. And with gratitude, we salute your effort and we want to continue to support you. On our part, Cipla has certainly been trying to make a difference. We've tried to launch every product that has some potency against the virus, whether it is our respiratory products or it is even products that are antibiotics. We're trying to create new alliances where we can bring products that show some promise backed by scientific data to the various people affected by COVID. All of this would not have been possible had Cipla's employees not stepped up. Every one of the Cipla employees, buoyed by this whole purpose of caring for life, has actually stepped up. Folks in our field, folks in our manufacturing facilities, in the depots, in our quality labs, all across have just been phenomenal at this point in time of making sure that we keep the flag flying high, we provide medicines to the markets, and at the same point in time that the factories continue to stay running despite us taking adequate precautions for the well-being of our staff. So I'd love to just commend this effort. It is phenomenal. It goes a long way into making sure that the world has a response and creates hope in this period of the COVID pandemic. So I'm glad to report that our numbers look pretty good. Despite the challenges, we ended this quarter probably at a high, at about 4,370 odd crores of reporting revenues. I think that's a phenomenal achievement considering the fact that we almost had about 200 crores that we couldn't bill because of the last week of disruptions that happened in the marketplace. And so therefore, I think this result is great. On a full year basis, Cipla is reported about 19% of sales. That's broadly where we thought the year would end up as EBITDA. And also we've crossed the 17,000 mark. We're at about 17,130 crores of top line. These are both first for us. They're our highest top line. They're our highest, pretty much our highest EBITDA and also our highest PAT. This year we've reported PAT at about 1,550 odd crores, and that's shown a growth versus the previous year. So despite the challenges in this year, I think we've ended strong. So in terms of key markets, if I was to talk about our home market in India, great progress. I think the last 3 quarters we've delivered industry-beating growth. The generic business has rebounded very significantly in quarter 4. So altogether, the India growth story with the last 3 or 4 quarters is looking exceedingly strong. Our consumer wellness division has also done excellent work. We've also transferred a fair number of products from our generic business to the consumer wellness business, and that's taking off and creating a huge amount of traction. In terms of the North America business, we've just got approvals for several products that were in our pipeline. We were a little delayed, but now we've got an approval for esomeprazole granules. We've got an approval now recently for albuterol. We're expecting a few more limited competition launches, and that business has also ended up pretty strong, almost close to $550 million for the full year. So I think that's been pretty phenomenal from a North America perspective. In South Africa, momentum continues. We've consistently beaten market. We continue to do that. Again, here our teams have stepped up to the challenge of that the COVID environment has brought, creating the products, making sure that we are able to deliver and satisfy market demand. So I'd like to acknowledge that effort. On the emerging side of the world, we obviously had challenges more to do with geopolitical issues where, obviously most markets now are in recession. And we're just trying to balance how we continue to supply markets in the emerging parts of the world, along with sustainable supply and a recoverability sort of a thesis around it. In Europe, we've had a great year as well. And now if you come to the API business, that business has also hit its targets and continues to supply critical materials for enabling launches of partners. So across our business lines, we've seen pretty solid momentum. We intend to continue this momentum going forward. Of course, there are challenges in our environment, in the reporting universe, in the areas we operate in. But Cipla was born to do good for society. We were born to take these challenges, move on, and bring more hope to the markets that we operate in. This is a challenging environment. It's also an environment full of opportunity. And we try to call it reimagining in Cipla's terminology. And we're trying to reimagine a lot of how our operations will change. We're trying to reimagine a lot of how our go-to-market changes, or the way we produce drugs changes. And hats off to every regulator who's trying to work with us to make sure that we're able to accelerate the pace of product approvals, accelerate the pace of facility compliance, accelerate the pace of how we're thinking through market changes and anticipating them in total. So we're doing a lot of that at Cipla, trying to be more resilient, trying to make sure that we're always at the forefront of what we can offer our patients and our employees. One of the biggest organs that the COVID virus affects most is the lung. And as you know, Cipla is the lung leader. We try to create treatments for the lung, and we've taken it on ourselves to make sure that the ecosystem that responds to the entire lung leadership effort, responds to chest physicians and other doctors curing the lung of COVID, are adequately supported. And here I'm happy to report that Cipla's working extensively with all chest physicians. We've got products that supply the entire range of what is needed to be treated. And again, we just like to leave everyone with the message that when you breathe, please think of Cipla, because we are a provider of medicines across the product range. And a special heartfelt thanks before I end to every one of the Cipla employees across the world, really banded together, created momentum for this cause of trying to be COVID-free. So I'd like to thank all of you. Look forward to speaking to you again. Please join Cipla, support us in whatever form in trying to tilt this balance towards hope over fear. And we want to make hope win and fear lose. Thank you very much. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Keep well.